the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Before we get into the weeds of this deep cover story, let's rewind to July 20th, 1969, a hot summer day in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and the weather was clear. The sky is a perfect shade of blue. Over 600 million people across the globe sat at the edge of their seats, waiting for the historic moment to unfold. The atmosphere was thick with attention, with a strange mix of fear, excitement, hanging in the air like a heavy fog. The entire world was watching, including President Richard Nixon, who stood by nervously with the nation's leadership, hoping to see America accomplish what seemed like an impossible feat. The countdown echoed through the speakers, reverberating in the chests of every person watching.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
The crowd held their collective breath as Saturn V rocket launched into the sky, carrying Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins on their perilous journey to the moon. Every eye, every camera, every ear was focused on what would happen next. The uncertain future stretching out in front of them like an endless abyss. And then something happened that would be etched into history forever. As the Apollo 11 mission approached the lunar surface of the moon, everyone on Earth held their breath. For a split second, it was as though time had stopped altogether. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Neil Armstrong famously said, his foot finally touching the moon's cold, barren surface. It was more than just a moment. It was a shift in the very fabric of human history. The United States had done it. They had beaten the Soviets to the moon. It wasn't just a win. It was a monumental statement. The Soviets, who had once seemed like a powerful adversary, were now left scrambling to catch up. The Apollo missions were not just about science. They were about national pride, and for the next several years, every new mission felt like a continuation of that glory. Astronauts became the new celebrities. Their names and faces splashed across newspapers, magazine covers, tabloids, television screens. It was Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and others became the household names. And while the world marveled at the feat, NASA's rise was nothing short of extraordinary. However, as the Apollo 17 missions ended in 1972, the space program began to teeter and to lose some of its shine. The public interest had reached fever pitch, slowly began to wane, and the excitement that once surrounded space exploration began to feel distant. Then in 1986 came the unthinkable, the Challenger disaster. 7 astronauts, including Krista McCuffley, a teacher selected for the mission, were killed when the space shuttle program, Challenger, exploded just 73 seconds after launch. The nation's heart sank, and for many, the dream of space travel seemed to die along with it, unfortunately. Then suddenly, out of the blue, came a generation of pioneers, the billionaires. They weren't tied to the government, bureaucracy, or constrained by politics. They were building their own dreams, creating their own paths to space. Elon Musk's SpaceX, Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, and Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic were all taking steps to make space travel a reality, not just for astronauts, but for ordinary people. Musk's SpaceX, with its goal of colonizing Mars, was perhaps the most ambitious, while Bezos and Branson focused more on space tourism, aimed to provide a path for people to see space up close. Yet their reach was limited by their own resources. These were companies run by men who, though incredibly wealthy, were still trying to break through the space industry's limitations. You've been told the space race is about glory, about humanity's greatest ambition, about billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson battling for the cosmos. But what if I told you that's just the cover story? Because all we're watching is the flash and the flare. There's another layer to this story, one with undisclosed contracts, military interests, corporate colonization, and a push to control something far more valuable than just the moon or Mars: space itself. My name's Alessi. Welcome to the channel where we uncover the truths you were never told. And if you appreciate this and you want to support a small business, please subscribe, like the video, and drop a comment in the comment section below, because this isn't just about rockets. This is about power, distraction, and the secret future being built above your head. The story of modern space exploration can't be told without the name of Elon Musk. But his rise to the space industry didn't start in the lab or with a government contract. It actually started in the mind of a man who wanted to save humanity, as crazy as that sounds. So in interviews with Joe Rogan and Lex Fridman, Musk openly admitted his motivation was fueled by his belief in the fragility of humans' future on Earth, a very pessimistic and revelatory opinion. But how do you build a company capable of doing that? In 2002, Musk founded SpaceX with a vision to build reusable rockets that could drastically reduce the cost of space travel. The first 3 launches ended in failure, and SpaceX was on the verge of bankruptcy.
You had that 3rd failure in a row. Did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up. I mean, I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.
Yet Musk persisted. With his personal fortune on the line, he pushed for one more attempt, the 4th launch, which was successful. The Falcon 1 rocket became the first privately developed liquid-fueled rocket to reach orbit. The success not only saved SpaceX, but also captured the attention of NASA and the Pentagon. Now fast forward to today, SpaceX has revolutionized the space industry. They became the first private company to deliver cargo to the International Space Station, and later, astronauts. The Falcon 9, a reusable rocket, has been responsible for launching thousands of satellites into orbit. It even allows for satellites to be delivered as part of a broader network. Musk emphasized in his Friedman interview that he feels the window for humanity to colonize space may be closing. That's why he built Starship, the most powerful rocket ever created. Designed to carry up to 150 people in cargo per trip, it's fully reusable, refuelable, in orbit, meant to land and launch from both Earth and Mars. His plan? To start sending cargo missions by the late 2020s, including essentials like food, solar panels, and systems to make fuel from Martian CO2 and ice. And if those missions succeed, Musk told Rogan that crewed flights could happen by the early 2030s. That's in 5 years. And now viral quote, Musk said,
It's dangerous, it's uncomfortable, it's a long journey, you might not, come back alive, but it's a glorious adventure and it'll be amazing.
Technical hurdles like radiation, shielding, long-term life support, and in-orbit refueling still stand in the way, and there's a lot to go through in that. But he's not slowing down. Musk envisions a fleet of starships launching every 26 months when Earth and Mars align, form a kind of celestial train system to ferry colonists. But what if his true ambition isn't just to conquer Mars, but to lay the groundwork for a new frontier? One controlled by his company, his network, and his tech. He's working to Doge right now. Who's getting all the private contracts? This is not something that doesn't seem out of the ordinary or it can't happen. All the steps in the groundwork are being laid out right now. As of the last decade, a few other billionaires have thrown their hat into the ring. The 2 of the biggest names who we all know who are household have entered the space race, which are Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson. And they're betting that space tourism will be the key to unlocking the future of space exploration. Blue Origin, Bezos' ambitious space venture, founded in 2000, long before the world was talking about billionaires in space. Blue Origin has been quietly working on pushing humanity into space. And then there's Blue Origin's new Shepard rocket, which was specifically designed to take passengers to the edge of space, offering a few minutes of weightlessness. It's an impressive feat. New Shepard is a fully autonomous spacecraft that has already carried several crews into space, with none other than Sir Captain Kirk, or should I say William Shatner, being one of the first few people to do it. Meanwhile, Richard Branson took a different path with his company Virgin Galactic. Unlike Bezos, Branson has focused exclusively on suborbital space tourism. Spaceship Two is a glider-like vehicle designed to carry people to just the edge of space, providing just a few minutes of weightlessness, as we mentioned before, and then return to Earth. Branson made history in 2021 by being one of the first private citizens to fly to space aboard Spaceship Two, a historic moment that captured the world's attention. Virgin Galactic's mission is more grounded in the idea of giving ordinary people a taste of what it's like to journey to space. While the billionaires play their very public game, there's a silent revolution happening in the background. You've probably never heard of Astra or Rocket Lab, but these companies could change everything. While Musk was busy dreaming of Mars, Astra was quietly doing something groundbreaking in its own right. Founded in 2015 by Chris Kemp in the parking lot in Alameda, California, Astra's mission was nothing short of revolutionary. while the big names like SpaceX and Blue Origin were focusing on massive payloads and interplanetary travel. Astra focused on affordability and frequency. Their goal? To launch rockets every day. Think of this way as Astra's rockets were small, but they're more about the size of the delivery of a van. Astra's approach was to drastically reduce the cost of getting payloads into space. This would allow anyone from universities to small tech startups to governments in developing countries to have access to space. In an interview with Chris Kemp, he spoke about his vision.
There's been a revolution in space, not just an evolution, where satellites like the Discover satellite Al mentioned earlier would cost over $100 million.
Despite several early failures, Astra achieved multiple successful orbital launches and even scored contracts with the US military and satellite companies. Their rocket, called 3.3, successfully delivered multiple payloads into space. Astra focused on low-cost launches and high-frequency missions, caught the eye of investors, and they began to secure contracts with players like NASA and DARPA, which is for another time. But in 2020, they finally reached orbit with the rocket 3.3. And then by 2021, they'd gone public. They'd landed military contracts and started working with NASA. While the big players were aiming for Mars, Astra had a different vision. They were creating the infrastructure for a daily launch economy, a platform for universities, startups, government, people like you and I could potentially get access to them. Their long-term ambition is to launch a rocket every 24 hours, delivering small satellites at scale, essentially becoming the AWS of space. Kemp believes this approach will quietly shape the future because while others chase glory, Astra is focused on reliability. They're not building a flashy future, they're building the plumbing for it. No offense. And then you got Rocket Labs, which is another startup. And this one took the world by surprise because what's so compelling about their story? It wasn't founded in Silicon Valley or the US by that matter. It was founded in a farm in New Zealand in 2006 by a man with no rocket science background, Peter Beck. Beck, an engineer with a passion for aerospace, was told, "You can't launch rockets from New Zealand," many times. Yet he did it anyways. In 2017, Rocket Lab's Electron rocket became the first privately developed rocket to successfully launch from the southern hemisphere. This was no small feat. They were taking on huge international space agencies like NASA and the big private companies like SpaceX, but with a twist. Their rocket was small and nimble. What sets Rocket Labs apart is their incredible precision. The Electron rocket is capable of launching small payloads with pinpoint accuracy into space. Unlike other companies focused on launching massive payloads, Rocket Labs' approach is about precision, flexibility, and scalability. Their success came with a breakthrough in a rocket technology, the Rutherford engine, which is the world's first 3D printed rocket engine. It's incredibly efficient and lightweight, reducing the costs of manufacturing rockets while maintaining performance. As of today, Rocket Lab has completed several successful launches, including missions for NASA and DARPA, and even secured contracts for interplanetary missions. One of the notable missions was the Capstone mission, a NASA project designed to study the lunar orbit for future Artemis missions. Rocket Lab is also working on a massive platform for space missions, including lunar and Venus missions, all privately funded. So space isn't just about exploring new planets, it's about controlling space itself. Now, what does that mean? Whoever controls space will control the future. The big players aren't just aiming for Mars, they're building things in space that could shape the future of our world for generations and for geopolitical reasons. And this is why the US military is in the middle of this. So why does space matter? The simple answer is resources. Space is full of valuable materials that could change everything, from how we get energy, to how we build technology, to overseeing other countries, to access to insights. The value of space materials is one of the most important things, such as helium-3, a rare gas that could be used for nuclear fusion, which is the kind of energy that could replace fossil fuels and power and the world forever. The moon has around 1 million tons of it. If we could figure out how to use it, and we'd have an unlimited supply of clean energy, this could change everything. No more oil, no more coal, just clean energy that lasts forever. It could solve Earth's energy problems for thousands of years. But that's not all. Space is also full of other valuable resources like rare earth metals that are used in everything from smartphones to electric cars to wind turbines. These materials are becoming harder and harder to find on Earth. If not, they're in other countries where we can't get access. In fact, China controls most of the world's supplies, and they're even saying they're running low, allegedly. That's where space comes in. Asteroids and moons could have huge amounts of these materials. One asteroid alone, 16 Psyche, has enough gold, platinum, and nickel to be worth 10 quadrillion. That's 10,000 times the entire world's economy. Imagine if one country or a company controlled all that wealth. It could change the world. Why the military wants space? It's not just about making money, it's about power. Space is becoming a battlefield, and whoever controls it controls everything. It started back with Reagan with the Star Wars program. And now today, in 2019, they created the Space Force program. The US military relies on the satellites for communication, navigation, surveillance. Basically, every modern war depends on these satellites. But here's the kicker. If another country destroys or jams those satellites, it could cripple the US military and country. That's why space is now considered the next battlefield. Take Starlink, for example. This is a network of satellites created by SpaceX to give access internet in places that are remote. But what most people don't know is that Starlink has become a key tool for the US military. During the war in Ukraine, for example, Starlink satellites were used to keep military communications going even when other systems were destroyed. The Pentagon now relies on private companies like SpaceX to help run their military operations. If anyone can disrupt or destroy these satellites, they could bring down military communications in seconds. And that's why controlling space is so important. It's not just about exploring, it's about security and military strategy. So, while everyone is focused on the headlines like billionaires launching rockets or the race to get to Mars, there's something much bigger happening. This isn't just about exploration, it's about who controls the domain which we will all be entering to, which controls the future. The real race is over, gets to the infrastructure in space. The satellites, the mining sites, the communication systems, and the power that comes with all of it. The people pulling the strings in space are the ones who will shape the future. Whoever controls space controls everything. And the winners, they're not the ones with the flashiest headlines. They're the ones who are quietly building the foundations for the future of space domination. So if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. My name is Alessi, and I will see you in the next Hidden Truths, where we tell the stories you're never told. See you in the next video.